Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. If you're here in the U.S., yesterday was a holiday, so I hope everybody enjoyed and whatever, responsibly. So anyways, it's Monday, or Tuesday, sorry. I practiced that yesterday to make sure I did not do that, and I still did it. But I'm distracted by my lips. The lipstick I wore today I thought was a darker color because it looked a little darker in the tube, but nope, it's bright. It's bright. But anyways, that's okay, right? So last week I talked about doing a series on cognitive distortions. So this comes from Karma Gaia, which again you can follow. Just Google them online, Karma Gaia, Gaia, and you can find them online. And it's overcome cognitive distortions. So it's going to be a couple of days because there's a lot of information here and it's too much to just do in one day. So let's see. Today we're just going to do I'm deciding if I want to do number one with this or just go over what cognitive distortions kind of is. So I think we'll do number one tomorrow because tomorrow is Self-Care Wednesday. So, I don't know. And challenge negative thoughts. Yeah, I think we'll just do the definition of what it is today, and then we'll move on to the rest of it tomorrow, or we'll move on to day or number one tomorrow. All right. So, cognitive distortions are like funhouse mirrors, distorting reality and magnifying our fears. But with awareness, we can see beyond the reflection and find clarity. And that's just unknown. There's no one to quote on that one. So cognitive distortions are irrational, biased ways of thinking that can negatively affect our perception of reality. They often lead to heightened anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem. Fortunately, with awareness and practice, it's possible to overcome thought patterns and improve mental well-being. So, I've decided I'm going to do number one because it kind of goes right into that. So number one, recognize the distortion. All or nothing thinking, no middle ground, overgeneralization, so basically making broad assumptions based on one single event, catastrophizing. I think I said that right, catastrophizing. Oh my God, seriously, what is wrong with me? Always expecting the worst, and mental filtering, focusing on the negative only. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a really good one. So as you know, part of the Aloha perspective is my perspective and some of the things that I've been through, and cognitive distortions is new to me in term only. In reality, big part of my life, this is like focused on all the negative stuff. But here's the thing. So I started, I'm just going to tell you straight out because I know a lot of people make fun of me, but I started reading The Secret again. And the reason I did that is because, it's about the law of attraction and all that. And a lot of people want to use it to manifest great things. But for me, it reminds me to stick in the positive because it's a really big, thick book of reminders that says what you put out there is what you're going to get back. And when we put out negative stuff, how often do we find the negative stuff coming back to us? So I'm gonna quietly use my father as an example. He's going through a rough time right now with his health. And because of that, there's a lot of negative attitude that's coming. And so, but everything he's putting out there, it's coming back at him and it's just not improving his situation. However, the first time when I was here for the first 3.5 months before I had to come back because of his relapse, I got him thinking in more of a positive way. I got him saying, I would just gently tell him, hey, look, whether you believe it or not, it's like what you put out there, it's going to come back at you. Well, I don't believe in that stuff. And it's like, well, that's fine, but it believes in you. So, you can make that choice. You can be positive or you can be negative. And I mean, let's be clear and let's be honest. We are not going to be positive 100% of the time. It's difficult to be positive 100% of the time. But there are ways to correct, and redirect our emotions when we're feeling really, really strongly about something. So, granted, well, like I said, sorry, we're going to have negative days. That's just normal. We're human. But we can redirect that by saying, you know what, I do not wish to, bring this into reality, or I do not wish to make this a reality. And cognitive distortions is kind of like that. What we're doing with the book I said I started reading again is we're trying to retrain our brain to stay more in the positive side of things than the negative side. Like I said, we're human, we're going to be negative, and I cannot stress that enough. I will not be able to stress that enough throughout this series that we're doing, because we are like that. I'm going to give you the simplest example. You wake up in the morning, okay, and this is one of my favorite examples, so if you've heard it before, I'm sorry, but you stub your toe, right? And you're just like, okay, whatever. But then maybe you are on your way to the bathroom or making your coffee or whatever your morning routine is, and you stub your other toe, and you're like, oh, okay, this is the kind of day I'm going to have. And it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, maybe you're just extra tired from the night before. Maybe you thought you slept well, but you didn't sleep as well as you thought. Or maybe you're just not paying attention. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times we walk through our house, right? We do run into things every so often. It's normal. And so you decide, well, that's just how my day is going to be. It's going to suck. It's going to be crappy. It's going to be this. Well, congratulations, because you just put that out there. And then watch the rest of your day go crappy and sucky, right? But I did this experiment when I was at work. I woke up one morning and I thought, like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. I even started to run late. But in the car, or on my way to the car, I remembered reading this book, and I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to have a good day today. So even though I left my house 10 minutes late, and I usually timed it so that I would be about 15 or 20 or 10 or 15 minutes early to work, I actually was 10 to 15 minutes early to work. I'm not saying that my being positive moved the traffic out of my way. No, I just drove to work like I normally do. But a lot of times when we try to weave in and out of traffic, we end up behind all the slow people, right? And you really don't get very far. Or, but you're just putting these things out there. And a lot of times when, I would go to work upset, or I'd go to wherever, it was just all these things, like people bothering me. I can't get my work done, or, stuff just happening in the office. It took me away from my work. Just everything that you would kind of think would make your day bad, right? Like everything was just amplified and felt like it was the whole world was against you. But when we clear our thinking and realize, oh yeah, okay, I stubbed my toe. Gee, that sucked. And, and we just like, but, it is what it is. I know a lot of people don't like that term, but believe it or not, as much as I used to hate that term, it's like, well, no, it isn't just is what it is, but it kind of is. And we get to turn around how it works out. See, when we go in with a better mindset, all those things that are happening to you are not going to affect you the way they would if you were still angry. Because when you're angry, everything feels like it's happening to you instead of around you, like you feel responsible. Oh, somebody dropped water in the kitchen. Oh gosh, that's my responsibility. No, it's their responsibility to clean it up. But because your anger or your negativity is amplified, you're thinking, oh, well, great. Now that's one more thing I have to clean up. And then you get in there and you're like, oh, well, why'd I bother? Because I already did it. So you're just finding reasons to be mad. You're finding reasons to be negative, to just be out of sorts. But when we stub our toe twice and our whole morning routine gets shot to hell, and we sit there and go, you know what? That's okay. It's just today. Tomorrow will be a better day. We're fixing our mindset, and we're moving through that cognitive distortion. We're moving through the all or nothing thinking, right? That no middle ground there. We're moving through the overgeneralization of making a broad assumption based on one single event. where, I mean, you just sit there after stubbing your toe twice and go, okay, great, this is going to be a bad day. It doesn't have to be the kind of warning you think it is. It could be the kind of warning that says, hey, you know what? All hell's going to break loose today, and you get to decide how you deal with it. You get to decide if you're the one who's just going to keep their chin up and go through the day instead of getting mad at everything, and just say, hey, like if that person drops something in the kitchen, do you need any help? No, I got it. Okay, good. But, you look helpful instead of going in and going, great, way to make a mess, and then you get people upset with you, right? Or the catastrophizing. I cannot say this word, always expecting the worst, right? Or mental filtering, focusing on the negative only. See, while you're having a bad day, all this good stuff might be happening around you. Someone may sit there and go, hey, you know what? You look like you were a little upset, so I bought you this, from the food vendor guy. And you're like, oh, well, great, thanks. But you seem more unappreciative than you do appreciative. Good morning, Muddy. How are you? So this is what the cognitive distortions are all about, and this is what we're going to go through over the next couple of days. I do think it's going to take us into next week because I'm not going to do more than one a day. So tomorrow, challenging negative thoughts. That's going to be a good one. But again, so cognitive distortions are like fun house mirrors, distorting reality and magnifying our fears, but with awareness. We can see beyond the reflection and find clarity. So with awareness, we can see beyond the reflection and find clarity. Cognitive distortions are irrational, biased ways of thinking that can negatively affect our perception of reality. I don't know, my brain just stopped for a second. They often lead to heightened anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem. Fortunately, with awareness and practice, it's possible to overcome thought patterns and improve mental well-being. So it does take practice. And like I said, I've been going through, I didn't even realize that fell off. Sorry. I have been going through my own negative stuff, trying to, adjust to coming back after being home for just a little bit. And it's been difficult this time. I'm not sure why it's been difficult this time, or maybe it's because the last time I came, I thought I was only going to be here a little while. So it's like I slowly adjusted, right? But now it's like, it just feels like an undetermined amount of time, and there's nothing really pushing anyone to get better, because there isn't, a time frame at this point like there was the last time. So there are things that I'm going to have to adjust to. There's things that I'm going to have to do to pick myself up, because the more negativity I put out there, the worse it's going to make the situation at hand. Now, again, a lot of people are probably going, oh, you're talking a lot of hooey. You don't have to believe in the law of attraction. The law of attraction is just what it is. It's energy. It's out there. Like I said, test it. Wake up in a great mood and watch how everything goes. And then the next time you wake up in a bad mood, watch how everything goes. That was the biggest tell for me. And like I said, I am reading The Secret again. And the reason I'm doing that isn't because I want to manifest all these great things. It's because I need to remind myself to stay in a positive place, because I don't know what it is, but I'm really good at, just making things happen, even the bad things. So you see, the law of attraction isn't just about manifesting all the wonderful things. It's retraining our brain to get out of that negative cycle. So that's the reason I started reading it again. It's funny. There's all these books out there that are meant for something else, and people get all what it's meant for. And then there's me, who just kind of picks it apart and goes, oh God, I can apply this to my life. And, just kind of think in more of a negative thing, and more of a positive way of thinking. Because, because of my trauma, I grew up feeling very negative about a lot of things, and mostly myself. And so, when we don't feel good about ourselves on the inside, we're going to project that out into the world. And everything's going to look distorted. Everything's going to not feel right. Everything's going to be what I'm reading about, the cognitive distortions, right? It's just not going to feel like, you belong on this planet. You're going to feel so separated and different and set apart from everything else and everybody else because you're kind of putting yourself in that position. Nobody is better than you. You are no better than anybody else. You might be better at something than somebody else. But I remember a long time ago, this was told to me by Mom Barbara, and she says, you know what? Nobody is better than you, and you are better than nobody else. Everybody is here to do their thing. Everybody is equal. Everybody is out here on this planet doing whatever it is they're meant to do to bring their gifts to this planet. And we have to remember that. And a lot of times that can be hard. Situations can be very intense. Situations can be very mind-boggling and discombobulating. And, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've been here for over a week now, but I'm just having such a hard time adjusting again. And I'm doing my best because my goal is to get my father better. It is to get him back on his feet and, being the guy. And I get it. He's getting older. And that's probably something I'm going to talk about maybe again in the anti-midlife crisis series, because, it is hard to watch our folks and our relatives and our grandparents and everybody get older. I no longer have grandparents. My last grandparent passed away in 2004, so 21 years ago. My grandmother's been gone for 21 years, and it's kind of wild to think about, because I was in my 30s when she died. But and some people are lucky, their grandparents live a lot older and everything. But I think when we put the negative stuff out there, when we don't take care of ourselves mentally, we're going to throw ourselves into a tailspin. And that's the last thing you want to do for yourself. The last thing you want is to throw yourself into a tailspin. So that's why I think overcoming the cognitive distortions is so important, because no matter how you get there, I've just shared how I got there. For me, it's just reading about things that remind me to keep my mind in a positive place, and to remind myself that even though not every moment is going to be filled with positivity, that there will be negative moments, there will be those angry moments, there will be those sad and disappointing moments, that I can keep myself from going too far into that. I can sit there and I can move through the feeling. See, the way I used to deal with those feelings is I used to bob and weave. I did not want to move through them because they were hard, they were scary, and they were uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So in the process of healing, if you're on a healing journey, the first thing you have to remember is that you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's scary and it's hard, but it's worth it in the end. I'm not trying to talk anyone out of healing, but, healing is a process. You don't just go to college and become a lawyer, right? Or you don't just go to college and become a doctor. Those take years of work. Now, I'm not saying healing is going to take you years of work, but what I'm saying is that those people put in a lot of time, they put in a lot of effort, they put in a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress that goes on with those two particular fields because of the amount of schooling. And I'm sure there's more, but I'm just talking about, sciences, the math departments, all those things that require like a doctorate or a master's degree. It takes work. And what you're going for now in this healing journey is a doctorate in your healing. You want to get to the highest PhD level, right? The doctor of my life, and of healing and of allowing yourself to accomplish such a big thing. I never thought I could move mountains. It always felt like an idea, right? And sometimes I still struggle with that because I struggle with self-belief. I do struggle with self-worth and self-belief still, and I'm still working on those. And, I've kind of gotten the self-love to a good place, but I'm still working on the self-worth and, believing that I deserve certain things or that, I deserve a good life. And that's one of the reasons why I started reading that book again, because it's like, I've got to get my head straight. You know, that this has been a very odd year. And not just because it's an odd year, it has been a very upending year. And it's nothing that I thought this year was going to be like. You know, every time I go into a year thinking, yeah, this is going to be a great year, blah, blah, everything gets turned on its head. But the difference is I'm learning how to move through it now. And instead of ignoring it, and instead of trying to bob and weave and jump over those obstacles, I'm just facing the obstacles head on. And that's what overcoming the cognitive distortions is about. It's about finding the tools to move through these things, these negative things that we think in our head. Remember what I always say, what you say is what you hear. It's what your brain's going to process, and it's going to end up being what you see. And what you're seeing is the cognitive distortion. So again, I'm going to read this one last time. Cognitive distortions are irrational, biased ways of thinking that can negatively affect our perception of reality. They often lead to heightened anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem. Fortunately, with awareness and practice, it's possible to overcome thought patterns and improve mental well-being. So number 1, recognize the distortion. The first one, all or nothing thinking, no middle ground. So if you're either, over here or over here and there's nothing in the middle, you need to find how to get to that middle, because in the middle is where the answer probably is. Overgeneralization, making broad assumptions based on one single event. So, catastrophizing, whatever, you know what I mean. Always expecting the worst. So, you walk out, this is how my dad is right now. I know, I don't know why I'm whispering, but he's just down the hallway. So he's always expecting the worst. This is never going to get better. This is hard. And I feel bad using my dad because I haven't asked him. But you know what? I'm the one that's here taking care of him. So I am sharing my experience. And it is difficult because he is really catastrophizing or whatever the fuck that word is. Making a catastrophe out of it. He's always expecting the worst. Nothing's going to work. Nothing's going to happen. Why am I not feeling better? Why can't I eat? Why am I not hungry? And that worries me too, because when you don't eat, your organs start to shut down when you're not taking care of yourself. So, Sammy said she needed this today. The last couple of weeks have been challenging. I'm so sorry. Girl, you need to reach out and talk. Okay. We need to talk so we can talk you through this. I'm happy to just be an ear if you need to vent, just call me. I love her accent. We've only talked on the phone once, but it's like, whoa, she reminded me of Sissy Joe. That's a true Southern accent and I love it. But, let's see. And mental filtering, focusing on the negative only. So again, this is why I'm rereading that book. You can think whatever you want about me. It doesn't matter. What I read does not affect what I put out into the world. Well, actually it does, because I am reading, if I'm going to be honest, that's not the only book I'm reading. I'm reading this one too. My friend wrote this book and it is real saucy. But yeah. And actually, she's a new friend. So I'm going to plug this book, Wicked Whispers. Okay, you can find it on Amazon. This girl just decided one day, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to put it out there. And Bestie Troy, who's been my best friend since 9th grade, he knew her or knows her and says, Shell, I'm sending you a book. I hope you like it. It's right up your alley. I love all kinds of books, guys. I read everything. Here's the other book sitting right at my desk. Good old Edgar Allan Poe. So Shelley Marie's got eclectic tastes. But then he's like, you two, you're both writers. So, but she's inspired me to write again, because it's like, look, you know what? This person put their entire nervousness or whatever aside and said, you know what, I wrote this, I want to put it out there, and now she's working on the second one. And because we're friends now, she's going to let me, test read. So just do it. She got through her cognitive distortions. You know, I'm pointing at the book. She got through her cognitive distortions. I mean, speaking of cognitive distortions, I mean, come on. This guy was a hot fucking mess. I mean, he was a hot mess. And look at all the great stuff he wrote. I mean, I do feel Edgar Allan Poe is a little bit ahead of his time. And I don't think a lot of people really truly understood. I discovered Poe in 7th grade when my teacher on Halloween read us The Telltale Heart, and I fell in love. So, you know, I actually got this one from my favorite. I told you guys about that bookstore in Colorado that I love. That's just you know, the guy owns it. You know, it's just a used bookstore, and you know, buy, sell, trade, whatever. You know, but I always love to go in there because he always has a gem. And I even got, oh God, I got Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That one's at home, but I got a first edition from there, you know, and I don't think they just put a thing in there and that was it. I mean, this book was, I'm really going, 1987. So this book is older than Baby Sibling. And, you know, I mean, you know, 1987, and I got it for like $14. But that's not the point. I don't go there for that. I go there because I always find something just smiling at me. I literally walked in the door and this was right on top of the pile. And the guy's like, oh, I just got that in. And I'm all like, I'm taking it home. So yeah, just, this is what this series is going to be about. It's about learning how to move through things in whatever way we can find. To not be afraid, to just face it head on. I'm going to tell you this is your life hack, okay? When something is running at us at full speed, an emotion of any sort, happiness, anger, disappointment, fear, when it's running at us, the only one that we run towards is happiness, right? But when it comes to disappointment, sadness, anger, fear, we run the other way out of fear. And that's not helping us, because the more we run, the more it's going to chase us. And the more it chases us, the more we're going to trip and fall, right? Because we're going to look back, just like in those horror movies, and they fall down and they're just dumb, you know? And it's just kind of like, I love horror movies, but sometimes they just blow my mind. Like, really? You know, it's like, I mean, that's one of the fun things about Scream, right? Was in the first one, the guy was an aficionado on horror movies, and he's like, no, we can't do this because that's going to happen next. And I love that. I love that somebody actually brought that to light. But my point is, when we run at disappointment, when we run at sadness, when we run at fear, when we run at anger, we are going to face it head on, and we are going to win. I'm not going to say we're probably going to win, but eventually, whether we do it in that moment or it takes a little time, we are going to win. And I'm glad that I did this show today, because I'm hearing my face speak all these words, and I'm like, you know what? I've been running out of fear. My dad's getting older. You know, I mean, he's going to be 80 this year, and I don't want to lose my dad. I've already lost my mom. I'm not ready to be an orphan yet. Or in Meet Me in St. Louis. This is one of my favorite movies. It's from 1944, 5? I don't know. But I love this movie. But yeah, the youngest one says, you know, I don't want them to be an orphan. I'm not ready to be an orphan, okay? And I think that's what scares me. But I also know he wants to get better, because he said it. He has said it several times over the last week. You know, I just want to get back to how I was and blah, blah. So I think what I need to do is I need to be the positive one. When I was being the positive one, he started getting better, because, you know, I just let him vent. I let him do whatever he needed to do. And I just kind of did my gratitude. I did my affirmations. I did my prayers, whatever you want to call it. I was just trying to put something more positive out into the world, and to be more patient. Patience is not my strong suit. I admit it. Patience is not my strong suit. And I figure there's got to be a reason that I am back here. And maybe it's to finally understand and get a better handle on patience. So that was day one. Day one, okay? Tomorrow's going to be talking about challenging negative thoughts. Woo, that's going to be fun. I know you're like, what is wrong with you? But no, that's going to be fun. I woke up late. so the fact that I'm actually in this mood says a lot. But I'm telling you, it's what I just read that put me into this mood, because I realized, oh my God, I've been looking at this the whole wrong way, and I need to look at it in a more positive light. I need to be a little bit more patient and understanding. And instead of being afraid, I need to remind myself that there is a man out there who wants to get better, but he's frustrated because, nothing seems to be working right now. And so, I need to be the one that reminds him, hey, very subtly, because my dad is old school, very subtly that says, hey, you know what? I know it's not perfect right now, but we're going to get you better. We're going to figure out whatever it is that we need to figure it out. But I need you to work with me. And that's the other fear, is that sometimes I'm afraid to talk to him because he does get upset. But the thing is, he does listen. He may act like he doesn't want to hear it, but he does listen. And then he'll say something to me later going, I was thinking maybe we should try that. So I found a great article in my AARP magazine about when people lose their taste and their smell when they get older. And I think that actually might help him. It's just finding the right time to talk to him about it. So, right now he's just sleeping a lot because I think he's still recovering from his stay in the hospital. But I mean, here's the thing. Everyone's probably, I know I get this a lot. This is going to be my final thought for today. I get this a lot from people. Well, he is getting older. Yeah, I get he's getting older. But in his late 70s, this man was out there traveling. He was doing stuff. And then for 2 years, he had rheumatoid arthritis growing in his body that upended him because nobody could figure it out. I don't know how they couldn't figure it out, but nobody could figure it out. That was the one direction nobody went in. So as part of my final thought, even if you don't have a family history of something, get everything checked. My mother never had a family history of pancreatic cancer. Now I have to keep myself checked because it now runs in my family. But they never looked for it because she didn't have a family history. Family histories start somewhere, okay? So now I have to make sure that, hopefully rheumatoid arthritis is not contagious. It's not hereditary, but I meant hereditary, not contagious. But no, these are the things that, we have to look out for now. I mean, I have to have my pancreas level checked every time I get blood tests, which is every 6 months because of my thyroid. So just be vigilant about your health. All right, be vigilant about your health. And Dad and I were very vigilant about his health in the last 2 years, but it never dawned on us that it could be. I mean, I thought it could be arthritis because I remember Laura's aunt, but nobody listened to me. Seriously. But that's okay because he did finally get diagnosed. But unfortunately, he also lost his left eye due to a mishap, a naughty mishap, but not his fault. It was a doctor. So, that's a whole nother thing on itself. But that's also upended him because now he's only got one good eye. And, and this is an eye that he has to take care of for the rest of his life to make sure he can still see for the rest of his time on this planet. I'm under no delusions that my father is going to live forever. All right. I'm not. And he has reminded me, I'm not going to live forever. It's like, yeah, but I can tell you're not ready yet because you're trying so hard to get better. If you were just sitting there giving up, it's like, okay, the last time I was here, I made peace because I really thought that he was going to quit. I really thought he was just going to just throw in the towel and go be with my mom. But he did not throw in the towel. He, like Rocky Balboa in that, final few seconds, just got up and started fighting again. So I know that's in him. And he knows that's in him because he keeps talking about wanting to get this right and get it settled and get it straightened. So he's doing the things that he can to get better, and I have to figure out the other stuff. So also, if you have any ideas on that, please, And Sammy says patience isn't my strength either. I'm starting to think that a lot of us struggle with this, but a lot of us grew up in this era where it's like, we had to do a lot of things for ourselves. And so when we see people that sit there, especially the ones telling us, I wasn't necessarily a latchkey kid until I was in high school, but I'm just sitting there going like, this is all the stuff you used to tell me when I was a kid. So, what was it? Just bullshit? Come on, get your shit together, man, and pull it together. So, Bestie said it. He saw it's hard when we have to be the parent. And it is because the parent does not like it. My father's very coherent. And like I said, the only thing that is going against him is just he's very weak right now. So that's the problem. And getting his strength back is everything, because when we get his strength back, he gets himself back. So I probably said too much about my dad. I hope he does not watch this later. I hope nobody watches it that knows him. But if they do, but yeah, but you know, it needed to be said. So go out there, take care of your peeps, and I will see you tomorrow. So I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch. I also post it to YouTube, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, after I upload it to YouTube, because I usually do a copy and paste to Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter from YouTube. So, but also you can find it on TikTok and you can find it on Instagram under Shelly Marie Lucas. I do have Aloha perspective pages out there, but guys, you know what? I just keep forgetting about them. So you can just find it under me, Shelly Marie Lucas, or on Twitter, it's Shellbell's Quest. All right. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, Muddy, I love you too. Thank you for popping on today. And again, tomorrow we'll be back with day number 2, challenge negative thoughts. Have a great day, everybody. And thank you again so much for watching.